finals. I was kind of shocked to actually see how serious they were taking it. And it was 3-3. We had Pete's team win 3, we had Poyo's team win 3. The first session, the first 3 games, we had Poyo's team take it 2-1. And I thought, like, whoa, this could be bad. Pete's team managed to win 1. But then in the last session of the day, we had Pete's team take it 2-1. Now, both teams absolutely popped off and they made it off sport. Both trios are not looking
sure what
bad
I want
at
to do
all
today,
to make it off
but
sport. They're looking like we expect from two of the best teams in the world. But in the actual sport fight, it is quite even right now. And Pete, again, has been copying a lot of heat for not being that locked in, not grinding that much. We actually got to see today their levels, and it's kind of crazy. For people saying that Cold is the one not locked in, Cold's not grinding, I think Cold's like level 220-something, Ritual's almost level 300, and Peterbot's level 100. I think he's not even level 100. So, at the moment, we haven't seen Pete fully locked in, grinding like a lot of people were hoping so, but they did look a lot better in these scrims of Spawn than what they did in the Div 1 Cup finals. Now, because this is on stream, and because a lot of people love kind of farming whenever it comes to Pete and Poyo, a lot of people are going to say that Pete, Ritual, and Cold were crashing out at each other. I've already seen clips, people putting on Twitter saying, oh man, they were crashing out at each other, they're going in, they hate each other. The vibes are actually surprisingly good. I'll show you a clip that kind of shows them crashing out, and I'll let you guys be the judge.
Still crazy, bro. Okay, anyways. If I was 50-50 Acorn, I would literally just shit out of him, bro.
What?
I would literally... What? Dude, it's fucking Gooncorn. Like, bro, it is the easiest 50-50 to win on the planet Earth, bro. Like, bro. Okay, anyways, it was my marker, by the way. Like, they hit mine. I swear.
Oh yeah, and you're horrible at marking, by the way.
I think it was mostly them having a bit of fun. They were talking a bit of smack and they were kind of being constructive with each other, but it wasn't like full-on raging each other. They actually were laughing the whole time, having a lot of fun in these off-spawns. One of the games they went down, Pete wanted to prove to Cold and Ritual that he is by far the best on their team at off-spawn. They started doing 1v2 off-spawn. So Peterbot queuing in as a solo up against Cold and Ritual as a duo. And to be honest, Pete proved that he wasn't the issue. I think he won like 5-1 or something. I think he won 5 of the 6 games, and I think all of them he got down first and got the gun, except for maybe one game. The only time Cold's team could beat them is because they were a team. They got down and got multiple guns and then took Pete down. But Pete had the best drop every single time. Pete did also make several comments about how he's going to go onto the Wu team, and he's referencing the fact that he wants to switch to the Wu team keyboard. I did a bit of research and I talked to a few people about why this might be. And a lot of people are saying that apparently Wu team software is actually much, much faster for input delay, which could be used for getting the gun, but if you're using scroll wheel pickup, having a faster keyboard doesn't do anything. That would only help if you were going to set up a macro. So this could have again been a joke. Apparently there is very real reasons that Wooting is actually better for macroing and getting guns. And I know there's a huge conversation around macros, and yes, they're against terms of service, but no, Fortnite has never banned anyone for it. So a lot of people just assume that every single pro is using them. I almost assume that most pros are using it at this point. But the Wooting is banned on LAN for multiple reasons. It's the only keyboard, as far as I know, that is actually banned on LAN. But it is worth pointing out in a lot of these spawn fights between Pete and Cold and Ritual as well. Not just Pete against Poyo teams. So you can't call me a Peterbot fan and just say, oh, Pete's just not getting the gun and then, I'm just kind of making excuses. But for some reason, Pete does seem to get down first, even against Cold and Ritual, and almost never get the gun. So I don't know what's going on there, because I was always used to Pete getting the gun first every single time. I mean, I literally banked on that at the Pro-Am. In the last games we were contested, there was like no doubt in my mind Peterbot was going to get the gun first, because he just always gets the gun first. But apparently, for some reason, up against Poyo's team and against Ritual and Cold, it just seems to not be happening anymore. So don't really know what's going on there. You'll probably see this clip here that I'll show you of Cold and Ritual's drops not looking too hot. Not really sure what happened in this game. I think it was a bit of a miscommunication on the marks of where you actually have to pull the gliders. It's clearly not very good looks for Cold and Ritual. They did have significantly worse drops, but hey, for the Peterbot fans, 3-3, not too bad. The Session 3 leaderboard of the scrim is a little bit bugged, but again, to point out how good both teams do when they make it off spawn, Pete's one game making it off spawn in Session 2, they got a 15 elim second, and in the 2 games the Poyo's team made it off spawn, they got a 16 elim win and a 10 elim fourth. So again, both these trios showing why they want to lock down Demon's Domain. Both of them showing that it's still 2 of the best trios in the world, but they're still contesting each other. They're still going at it, and at this point, I feel like it's getting too late. I think these teams are genuinely going to contest each other in grands, and it's going to be be a little bit ridiculous because it's getting late in the season now. One of them could leave and try to maybe out for a different POI, but they're basically just giving the win to another team then. I mean, whichever team is left is pretty much going to be them versus Clicks most likely for the grand finals win. Yeah, we could have a big pop-off performance from like, Kanata's team or maybe from Booga's team, stuff like that. But for the most part, they know that if they leave Demon's Domain uncontested, that team has a huge chance of winning grands. And there is going to be a little bit of ego involved in here. As much as both teams seem quite friendly with each other, there is going to be a little bit of heat there, leaving the drop and seeing how much success they have and knowing that could have been you. But there's another part to that as well. We have land right around the corner. We have land in less than 2 months from now. So leaving your drop spot right now is not a good signal, and it means a lot. It could potentially mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I know why people are getting confused about what is going to be happening with Pete versus Poyo, why are they leaving, what's going on. Right now, this means more than just this FNCS. You have to remember, especially on NA, the prize pool is considerably higher at global. So right now, you could argue that, both these teams playing for like a top 5, maybe like a top 3 if one of them does really well. I know some people seem to think that Pete or Poyo could win grands of this contested drop. I honestly didn't think Poyo's team was going to win 5-1 and win a final, so maybe my opinion is just wrong at this point. But I don't think Pete or Poyo could end up winning while contesting another team in a 12-game format when you have teams as good as Clicks at a drop spot as good as Academy. So I'm not entirely sure, but they could at least get a top 5 or top 3, which is still decent money, which would then keep their rep intact going into globals and then potentially win globals and have a big pop-off there. So I'm not really sure. A lot of us were hoping on the Superman update to have a switch in drop spots, but if you've watched any of my previous videos, we now have the date confirmed of the Superman update from Fortnite. It is going to be coming out on the 11th. It's only a few days away, which I thought Epic was still on break, so I don't really know exactly how that's going to work. It does mean we're going to have the Superman update out for a few days for the Eval Cup, then we're going to have the Eval Cup, and then we're jumping into FNCS. So hopefully the Superman update doesn't completely break the game, but the POI looks very, very average right now, so I don't think either team will be leaving to go there. So I don't know what's going to change. Maybe we get a buff to another POI. Maybe we have Academy nerfed, like a lot of people are talking about. There has been in the game files, dialogue that talks about the fall of Supernova Academy. A lot of people thinking that might make the POI terrible. That means Blix's team will need to find a new drop spot, so maybe that could change up the dynamic of who drops where. But right now, it looks like nothing's changing. One thing I do hope the Superman update changes is the player base. Now, I've been away for a week, like I said. I came back. I'm now got a trip planned to North America. I'm going to be heading to Dallas in a week. I'll talk about that a little bit in the video. It's going to be super exciting. But I kind of wanted to lock in and play the game a little bit, unwatch a bit before I can then, make some content with the pros when I get to NA. And oh boy, I didn't realize how bad it's gotten, especially for Battle Royale. So I took this image yesterday at pretty much peak player base time, and as you can see, some of the game modes are fine. We have Blitz Royale at 166,000 players, Battle Royale Zero Build at 154,000, and then we have regular Battle Royale at 129,000. So Blitz Royale and Zero Builds both beating it out, but the one you might see here that is extremely concerning is the Battle Royale ranked playlist. 21,500 players. Steal the Brain Rot, a creative map made by one team, has over twice as many players as the ranked playlist in builds on all regions combined. That is kind of terrifying. Fortnite OG has over doubled the player base of the Battle Royale ranked playlist. Lego has more players than Battle Royale ranked. Something is very wrong right now, and I mean, we could point to lots of things. We can say it's the pom-poms. People obviously hate when there's a super OP mythic item in ranked. Most players want to play ranked to have a good competitive experience. They want to get better at the game, and having an item like that just ruins it. Also, the success of Reload right now. Squid Game Reload map just came out. As you can see, Reload ranked has 121,000 players. 100,000 more than what Battle Royale ranked has. So obviously, a lot of people will be playing Reload ranked that would be playing Battle Royale ranked. But right now, Reload's just better. The loot pool's awesome. The new map's really fun. I jumped in. I'm enjoying it. It makes more sense to play that. I have a lot of people saying that it's Blitz Royale that's ruining Battle Royale. Everyone's playing that instead, and it's Blitz Royale's fault. I don't think so. Blitz Royale is a very casual experience. It's zero builds for one. It's very fast-paced games. Most people who care about playing the game seriously and wanting to improve aren't playing Blitz Royale, so I don't think it's really taking too many of the players from Ranked Battle Royale. I think it's more of a sign that Ranked just sucks right now. There's no reason to grind Ranked. It doesn't feel competitive rewarding. It doesn't feel fun, and because they have removed all the cash cuts from the season, a lot of people who usually would grind the game to try to get better just don't care. Just go play something else and enjoy the game, or play a different game. I'm not going to try and pretend that the removal of cash cups wouldn't have an impact on this player base. It's sad to see. I'm really hoping that my theory of Fortnite trying to improve the anti-cheat with these upcoming updates will hopefully see cash cups return next season. I'm not expecting we're just going to remove solo and trio cash cups or all cash cups from the game in general, but it's not a surprise that after 2 seasons with no real cash cups for up-and-coming players to play, they're not playing the game mode that's, designed for up-and-coming players to improve. It just makes sense. So I don't think it's just the pom-pom item, I don't think it's just Blitz Royale, I don't think it's just Reload, and I don't think it's just the cash cups. I think it's a combination of all these factors that's leading to a very, very significant drop in the ranked playlist. Now, I did just talk about it a little bit, but I am heading to NA. It's been a while since I've been there. I'm flying out on the 18th right after FNCS Players, and I'm going to be in NA in Dallas streaming from the Dig House for all the rest of FNCS and the new season. Why am I telling you? There's going to be a whole bunch of cool content for you guys to look out for. I'm doing a whole bunch of sick content with Dignitas.
Well, this is why I don't fight. Everybody teams. Like, you can't seriously tell me you did not see that other person.
So I have the Dig Players POVs.
Like, you'd even have to third party at all. You could have just sat there and did absolutely nothing.
We could watch the off spawn, Acorn versus Speed, all that good stuff. So if you've been looking forward to content like that, keep an eye out. It's going to be awesome. I will be there for about a month. I'm going with my wife and daughter. I'm putting a lot of time and effort into this, a lot of thought. I've been working on this behind the scenes for a while. Been teasing you guys with some big announcements. This isn't half of it. This is just the first big announcement. We have more coming in the future, but for those of you guys who've been paying attention, it's going to be very, very cool. And I don't have to get up at 2 a.m. anymore to watch tournaments. Now, some of the stuff I missed while I was away, and maybe you guys missed as well, we had Savage's trio splitting up, but then getting back together. So we had Savage, Chap, and Rezon split, with Savage and Rezon looking for a third. Some people saying they were trialing out Shark, but I think that was just a bit of a content farm. Shark is still very much with his trio, but Chap was leaving to go play with Yanis, and apparently he's already back. They didn't even wait until tournaments. Apparently maybe a few scrim sessions or just a couple days is enough. Chap is now back with Savage and Rezon. So that trio is still together. As far as I can see, they still plan on going the Resistance base, so I guess we'll see how they go again. A lot of people have been talking about when this trio splits. Their vibes have stayed good, but how individually good each of those players are, their placements haven't really backed it up yet. But it looks like they're still confident. They're going to give another crack, and we should see them queuing up FNCS together. We did have a little bit of drama with Poyo and Ages and Pete and them all kind of having a conversation on different streams about what their plans for next year would be. We had Poyo reveal that Peterbot told him he just wants to fast forward the rest of this year. He just wants to get it over and done with. We had then Pete talking about how next year he wants to play with Ages, and Poyo mentioned he also wants to play with Yonzo, kind of going through the potential trios that he would play with. And it kind of gave everyone a bit of a concern of, you're still in the current season. We're not even in LAN event yet. Right now we have FNCS in a month. We have LAN in 2 months. We really want to see that trio locked in right now to potentially have Pete go back-to-back in LANs. And until I saw today's off-spawns and the scrims, it did have me a little bit worried as well. Pete hasn't been logging on as much, hasn't been grinding as much, and people, pointing towards this as an example of just he doesn't like his teammates. He can't wait till the year's over. He wants to go play with different trios and just kind of get this year over done with. But after seeing them play together on stream, honestly, their vibes did seem really solid. Pete is still phenomenal off spawn. I don't think he is the issue at all. My man is still definitely getting down first. When they make it off spawn, they're looking really solid. But yeah, it kind of contributes to what we're talking about. And Pete just seeming like he's a little bit burnt out. He's just not dedicating as much time to the game as what he normally does. I didn't think I was ever gonna see Cold over twice as high of a level as Peterbot at any point in Fortnite ever. Cold's the guy who, used to just not get on ever until Cash Cups or FNCS, and right now he's over twice as the high level as Peterbot. The guy we just saw is that never gets off the game, dedicates his life to it, just never ever budges. But that looks like just times change. We'll have to see how that affects the rest of the season and coming into globals. I really do think that for globals especially, Pete will be locked in. I just can't see Pete knowing he's going to be playing on a big stage at a lane event with that much on the line and not lock in and start grinding. So we'll see what happens, but I do want to at least address it. Did happen a few days ago. I was a little more worried seeing these clips until I saw them play off spawn today and saw their vibes are pretty solid. I think if all three of them do start to lock in and actually start grinding a fair bit more together, it will improve improved them a lot. Ritual's been playing a bunch of off spawns on stream. If you ever watch Ritual's Twitch streams, pretty much every night he's running off spawns against his viewers. He's running scrims with different players. You see him playing with Cold a little bit. Cold is still grinding on his own. Like I said, he's over level 200, but they haven't really been playing much together as a trio. Meanwhile, Acorn, Ages, and Poyo, or at least mostly Ages, Poyo, and then usually Yumi filling in for Acorn, have been playing a lot of sessions. It's worth mentioning before Peterbot gets targeted with all this hate. Oh my god, they're not locked in, and Acorn's team is. Acorn himself is roughly the same level as Peterbot. Again, he's like level 100, whereas Poyo and Ages are much higher level. So it's not like Pete's the only one not locked in, not grinding right now. He doesn't want it bad, and every other pro is giving it their all. It is that point right now. We've gone from a 1 month weird season during Star Wars where there wasn't really anything, and now we've had 2 Div Cups, and then we've gone into like a 2.5 week break again. But once this FNCS starts, it is going to feel like a mad dash for the rest of the competitive year, because again, by the time FNCS starts, it is 6 weeks until Globals is over. This FNCS, the entire FNCS, a new season and Globals in 6 weeks. It's going to be crazy.
Alright, must have cost a fortune, huh?
It's an oldie thing.
Oh my god, guys. I just woke up like 5 minutes ago. This is gonna be my very first game. I'm hoping it's not too sweaty because I'm literally brain dead right now. Look at the map though. Oh my god. It's kind of laggy too. It's gonna be a little bit rough.
Let's go.
Oh, okay, of course attack is still in here. Nice. The normal ARs are back. Oh boy. I'm nervous, dude. I want to win my first game. I feel like it's gonna be.
Video, I'm going to rank every single version of the Scar from worst to best. For the sake of this video, I normally don't do this, but I will be including the Chapter 5 version of this weapon, the Striker AR, because while it does perform differently than, your traditional Scar in the game, they do have the same exact weapon model and are clearly modeled after the same IRL weapons, so normally I would consider them different weapons, but for the sake of this video, to beef up this list a little bit, we're going to include the Striker AR. I mean, look at that weapon model, the same. If you do want to enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like. Use code TIEFRIES in the Fortnite item shop as always, and yeah, we've got some ranking to do. We've got 8 Scars to talk about. At my number 8 spot, the worst Scar we ever saw in Fortnite history was the Chapter 4 Scar, and to be quite honest with you, it was not even close. This is one of the worst assault rifles I have ever used in Fortnite. I'm telling you, they decided to now make the Scar, instead of its crazy epic and legendary version, now have common green and blue rarities, and that was a terrible decision, right? The Scar had all its, aura, for lack of a better word, because it was very rare and just crazy hard hitting, but no, got crazy nerfs in the common through green version with some of the worst bloom I've ever seen for a Fortnite assault rifle, and there's just no way you can justify taking the Chapter 4 Scar over something like the Red Eye assault rifle that was in the game at the same time. And yeah, like I just said, since the Scar was no longer found in Chapter 4 in just purple and legendary and in the low tier rarities as well, that means it had to get a ton of nerfs, and they did. They nerfed the reload speed, they increased hipfire spread, they increased the bloom while aimed down sights, and this is no doubt the worst version of the Scar we ever saw. Moving on to number 7 is the Suppressed Scar. Now, some people I feel like really like the Suppressed Scar, but I was never a fan of it, and really it was because of that bloom when you fully autoed this weapon. When you tap fired the Suppressed Scar, this thing was pretty good. I mean, again, you guys know I don't really place that much value on the, suppressor itself. I feel like suppressors in Fortnite aren't really that useful, but again, to me it's one of those things where it's like, are you taking the Suppressed Scar or are you taking the regular Scar? I think most people would probably say the regular Scar for, the more consistent accuracy. And you gotta remember, right, for the Suppressed Scar in that legendary version, you're only doing 33 damage, whereas remember with the normal legendary Scar, you're gonna be doing 35 damage. So with this weapon, you get worse accuracy when fully autoing, and you get worse damage per shot, and the trade-off, of course, is suppressor. But if you're like me and you don't value the suppressor, well then, why would you ever take the Suppressed Scar over the regular Scar? The one advantage that it has is that it resets to first shot accuracy literally instantly. So if you
One more
tap fire
game, I'm gonna play Zero Build.
Some good work still. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad weapon. This is still a decent assault rifle. But in terms of like every single version of the SCAR, I think it's only better than the Chapter 4 one. And number 6 is going to be Chapter 5's Striker assault rifle. And we've kind of got to talk about this one a little bit more because there's a lot going on here. Of course, this isn't your typical version of the SCAR. It's got a crazy fast fire, but again, a lot more recoil and a lot more bloom. And this is a projectile weapon. And you know, it's really tough to rank Chapter 5 weapons against non-Chapter 5 weapons, right? Because you've got projectile versus non-projectile. But of course, every weapon in Chapter 5 was projectile, so it's not like this weapon was at a significant disadvantage. But yeah, you can see why, you know, ranking Chapter 5 weapons gets a little bit messy, especially because you could put attachments on the Striker assault rifle. There were a couple attachments I think were really good, right? You get that red dot, so you get the hollow sight, you get the muzzle brake to kind of control that recoil a little bit, drop a little grip on there. This thing can be really good, but the recoil to me feels just out of control. And yes, while the DPS on this weapon is higher than virtually any other version of the SCAR at 226, right? The Mythic version, which we'll get on later in this video, is even higher. You've got to remember that the DPS for all the Chapter 5 weapons is crazy inflated, right? Because they were projectile weapons, so, you know, of course, DPS takes into account you hitting every single shot back to back to back. With projectile weapon, that was almost never happening. What I can say about this weapon, it is certainly so much better than the Nemesis AR. I don't want to argue with you guys in the comment section on that one. The Nemesis AR is booty cheeks compared to the Striker. And again, like, I kind of feel like this is a weapon that if it came back in a season that wasn't Chapter 5, it would actually be really, really good. Like, if this was a hit scan weapon, I feel like a lot of people would really, really like it. But at the end of the day, it is just the Striker AR, and it's not a crazy, crazy good weapon, although sometimes you can get some crazy damage output with this thing. And a lot of it is that crazy fire, right? 8.1 for a fire rate, but a magazine size of only 25. So you see why the accuracy is kind of crazy, and pair that with not a lot of bullets to shoot before you gotta reload, you can see why this weapon can be a little bit problematic to use sometimes. Moving on to number 5 is actually just going to be the current version of the SCAR that we're seeing in the game. No, this is not the OG version of the SCAR. I'm going to rank that one separately, but this is the version of the SCAR that, let's say you're playing Chapter 4 Season OG and you find the SCAR on the ground. Or let's say the SCAR were to come back in Chapter 6, that version of the SCAR. All throughout Chapter 1, the SCAR was your absolute just demon assault rifle, right? It's just so good, so powerful. And look, yes, while it was the best assault rifle of all time, I would argue all the way through Chapter 1, that would change a little bit with Chapter 2 and going forward, right? Like, I think the SCAR has definitely been dethroned as the best assault rifle of all time. If you ask me, right, I'm going to prefer a hollow twister or an MK over the SCAR. And a lot of that just comes down to the accuracy, right? While the SCAR is just a good all-around weapon, sometimes that bloom can feel really, really inconsistent, whereas if you use a weapon with a scope, you're not going to feel bloom at all. I don't know, it feels really weird to rank this thing because I think a lot of people live in the past and remember the SCAR being the best assault rifle of all time, but as we know, right, that's not the case anymore, nowhere really near the case. But again, that's not to say that this weapon is bad. I mean, you've got a DPS of 200 in the legendary version with 36 damage a shot, right? You're putting in big time damage. And like, given the loophole, for the most part, you're probably going to take the SCAR unless you've got a better scoped assault rifle. Like I said, like the MK, like the Hollow Twister, like the Striker Burst AR. But for the most part, yeah, this is a great option to take. But you know what? I think I've got to give the edge to Nisha's Striker AR. Of course, this is the Chapter 5 Mythic version of the Striker AR. And I know, while I talked a little bit bad about the Striker assault rifle, you got to remember that this weapon fixes a lot of those problems. While yes, it is still projectile, and that is still kind of a glaring issue here, the damage potential here is unbelievable, right? And I know with Chapter 5 weapons, you've got to take DPS with a grain of salt, but 235 is some of the highest we've ever seen for an assault rifle. But the DPS is kind of more accurate here because you've got the red dot sight, which is really going to help you hit those shots. My only real kind of gripe with this weapon is actually the attachments, right? Besides the scope, I feel like they could have put so many better attachments to help this thing, right? You get a speed mag, which I don't think is necessary. I think an extended mag would have worked better here. An angle foregrip, which yes, reduces ADS time, but who really cares about that for an assault rifle, right? Give us a foregrip that's going to reduce recoil, which is what this weapon really needs, and then you throw a suppressor on it, right? Which, like, who cares about suppressors, right? They don't really do anything. If anything, just give me a muzzle brake that's going to reduce my recoil even more. So I feel like, yeah, I can confidently say that if I had the, you know, regular SCAR and Nisha's Striker AR next to each other, I would actually take Nisha's, especially if they end up bringing this thing back somehow and it being hit scan. I think you could honestly probably switch this spot around with the regular version of SCAR, just depends on your preference. Moving inside our top 3, these are 3 elite assault rifles, some of the best of all time. And my number 3 spot is Sky's Scar, of course, from Chapter 2, Season 2. This is the mythic version of the Scar, which honestly, if you told me back in Chapter 1 we'd be getting a mythic, more overpowered version of the Scar, I would tell you you're crazy. But that's exactly what we got, and it is literally just the regular Scar, but better in every single way possible, right? They would increase the fire rate and increase the damage, right? That's the thing. If you have a weapon that gets buffed in the damage category and the fire rate category, those are massive buffs. And that leads to this weapon having a DPS of 222. You gotta remember, having a hit scan weapon with a DPS that high is really insane and severely outclasses the regular version of the Scar, which has a DPS of 198 in the legendary version. It's really hard to say anything that is bad about this weapon because there really is nothing besides maybe you could make the argument about Bloom, but honestly that's with literally every single Fortnite weapon. This thing is an absolute behemoth. And this really shouldn't come as a surprise to some of you guys. I think it's beaten out by Ice Spice's rifle, and yeah, it's not I think it's beaten out, it is definitely beaten out because this weapon is an entire reskin of Sky Scar, but just with better secondary attributes. And what I mean by that, right, is Ice Spice's rifle is a direct copy of Sky Scar, right? Everyone knows that. They have the exact same statistics, same damage, fire rate, structure damage, DPS, everything across the board is the exact same, but with Ice Spice's rifle, every time you hit a player, you get the pepper effect, right? That gonna make you move faster, and that's a good bonus, right? That's not a negative thing. That's never really going to hurt you. And so for that reason, of course, this weapon just has to be one spot above Sky Scar for obvious reasons. So yeah, of course, you just copy and paste everything I said about Sky Scar. This thing's an absolute beast, and apply it to Ice Spice's rifle because they are the exact same weapon. And while this thing is absolutely unbelievable, you'll notice it's not at my number 1 spot today.
You have to be the trailblazer. You have to be the one to go west for the goal.
Each year, thousands of adults lose their shred. But it doesn't have to be this way. Because rekindling your shred is as easy as playing the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. With new parks, cross-platform multiplayer, and sick new game modes, we can put an end to shred loss everywhere. Get the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 and show the world that the shred's not dead. Pre-order Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 and play the Foundry demo.
At my number 1 spot today. That's because I think the best version of the
He has a
Scar
spaz.
is the
Yo, that's crazy.
OG Scar, right? I'm talking about the version of the Scar that was doing 98 damage to the head. That is absolutely unreal. Like, it's kind of unfathomable to think that this thing even existed. It's really just that headshot multiplier that absolutely blows every other Fortnite weapon out of the water, right?
Why did it take me like 3 minutes to reload?
Headshot, right? Of course, it did end up getting nerfed to 2.0 times.
Yo.
Basically just the normal version of the Scar we know today, right? Where you're hitting for 72 on a headshot. Don't forget, there was a time way back in the day, probably before a lot of you guys started playing this game, this thing was doing 39 damage per shot. Of course, they ended up nerfing it down to 37, and then we get nerfed
What are we
again
doing
to
here, buddy?
36 and 35. You guys know how the Scar works. But this thing was just absolutely insane. I mean, watch the gameplay. You just eviscerate players. It's crazy to think about an assault rifle like this, with a fire rate like this, being able to almost one-tap somebody that doesn't have any shield. That should never exist, and it really barely exists. It's been changed now for, you know, years and years and years. But the fact that this thing even existed, right, I've got to acknowledge it. I've got to put the OG Scar in its own category, and if there was a weapon like this that existed today...
And of course, it's always the dumb stuff, like me not respawning with anything.
There's no doubt about that. This was the best version of the Scar.
Like, I should never not respawn with an assault rifle. That's criminal.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that quick video.
I'd even get a gray assault rifle.
Looking for video ideas in my notes app, and I saw this one from a while ago, and I said,
45.
you know, why don't I just make this video? I think it would be a cool one, maybe kind of a little trip down memory lane for a lot of you guys. So if you do want to enjoy this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, right? We are pushing for 100,000 subscribers. It's a huge milestone for me, and I'd absolutely love for you guys to be a part of this Fortnite ranking community. Thank you so much for all the support on the channel recently. It has been absolutely crazy. You guys are absolutely killing it, and yeah, I feel so blessed to be able to do this for you guys. But enough of these sappy stuff. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace.
What were we doing? I'm generally confused. I was about to die. I'm surprised I actually killed you, buddy.
This video, I'm going to rank every single
No reboots.
item in Fortnite history from worst
But
to
I'll be
best.
okay.
This is every weapon that can overheat
always
instead
try to
of
make
having
something
to
work.
reload it, right? As you all know, this mechanic happens when you fire the max amount of bullets in a row with these weapons, followed by the overheating. And remember, there is a difference between a cooldown
My
and
phone's
overheating.
overheating
We're talking about overheating,
because I
not
forgot to
cooldown.
unplug it off
You've
the
gotten
charger.
those. Be sure to let me know in the comment section if there's any items on this list that you think I missed. And if you do want to enjoy this one, be sure to leave it a like. Use code TIEFRIES in the Fortnite item shop. And yeah, let's get right into this video. At number 25 is going to be the First Order Blaster Rifle from Chapter 2. Yes, this weapon and the F-11D from Galactic Battle, while they do have the same exact weapon model, they are completely different weapons. And the
I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Atrocious. It is one of the
I
worst
can't fight when my
items of all time.
phone's
It's just in general one of
overheating.
the worst Fortnite weapons.
Whoa!
The fact that it was a projectile, especially in Chapter 2, when every single weapon, I guess besides snipers, was hit scan, this weapon is absolutely...
He has the Mythic Havoc. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I knew it!
So we're going to move pretty quickly through these ones. At number 24 is the E11 Blaster Rifle. Again, not the one from Galactic Battle. We're talking about the one from, I believe this was Chapter 3, I remember it being in. And yeah, again, just like the First Order Blaster Rifle, a projectile weapon in these seasons is not going to cut it. Incredibly inaccurate, very low damage, overheats super quickly.
I need some type of heals.
Not a desirable weapon whatsoever. But of course, that changes a little
Minis
bit
are gonna
with
cut it.
Galactic Battle. At number 23 is actually not a weapon, it's an item.
Bro,
It's the
I'm trapped.
Superman Sprite. I actually almost completely forgot to include this item on the list. In fact, I've actually already recorded this video once, and I forgot the Superman Sprite, so you know what? I had to record it again. At first, I think it was super novel, it was super cool, it was like surprising, right? Nobody was expecting a Sprite to be this powerful. But at the end of the day, I think we can all admit the Dash Sprite is considerably better than the Superman Sprite. I mean, this thing overheats so quickly. And if you really think about it, it's just like a Chimera ray gun, but with a little bit more damage, but it overheats quicker than that weapon. And with those weapons, you have infinite ammo. With the Superman Sprite, you only get 75, and those things go by quickly. And moving on to number 22 is actually going to be that weapon. It's the Chimera ray gun, which includes Mythic version, Zig and Choppy's ray gun. It's basically the same thing as the Superman Sprite, but you're trading less damage for infinite ammo. So it's just kind of pick your poison here. I personally would go with the Chimera ray gun, which I never thought I would ever say I would take the Chimera ray gun over anything in Fortnite history. But yeah, somehow, some way, the Chimera ray gun beats out the Superman Sprite. And number 21 is Bender's Shiny Metal Ray Gun. This is barely better than Chimera's ray gun, and in past lists I've actually ranked these all as just one weapon, right? Chimera ray gun, Zig and Choppy's, and Bender's Shiny Metal Ray Gun, because they are literally the exact same thing. In fact, Bender's Shiny Metal Ray Gun has a DPS higher by 4 than Chimera's ray gun for a trade-off of a 1 second slower reload time. So again, just kind of pick your poison, which one you want here. And while it doesn't have as good structure damage as the Superman Sprite, to me that doesn't really matter because you get infinite ammo with Bender's, which at the end of the day will allow you to beam through those walls more. At number 20 is the Tri-Beam Laser Rifle. Now, I have destroyed this weapon in almost every list it's ever been in, and I'm giving it a little bit of grace here. It is certainly higher than I put it in other lists, but that's not saying much, right? Because, yeah, I guess it's better than Bender's Shiny Metal Ray Gun or the First Order Blaster Rifle. Like, congratulations, that's not saying much. I just don't like the idea that there's no way you can be 100% accurate with this weapon. Like, you can literally have the reticle on someone, but those bullets are just going absolutely everywhere. And yes, I know bloom exists on regular weapons, but at least I can tap fire, right, if I want to be extremely accurate with it. But this weapon is just like, it seems like it's just a chance on whether your bullet hits them or not, and I don't like that. Number 19 is the Plasma Burst Laser. Yeah, like I said on this list, guys, towards the bottom here, we've got a bunch of just kind of bum weapons, and I think the Plasma Burst Laser fits in that category. Now, it's kind of, you know, multifaceted because you can take down the vault walls almost instantly with this weapon. It's definitely very useful for that, but against players, I just don't see it being great whatsoever. I mean, I guess there's a couple situations when you could use it against vehicles, like cool, right? But we're talking about Chapter 6 Season 2, where you've got one of the craziest loopholes I've ever seen. And the Plasma Burst Laser, to me, doesn't fit in those inventory slots. And number 18 is the CR2 Blaster from Galactic Battle. I cannot be the only person that thinks that this was the worst weapon in Galactic Battle. This thing feels like it shoots absolute marshmallows, and it does, right? I guess because it's got an incredibly fast fire rate. It's very similar to something like the Rapid Fire SMG, although just for me, this weapon felt so much worse. I don't know why. Maybe it was because the F11D was just right around the corner and so much better as a spray weapon than the CR2 was. But man, I am truthfully a generational hater of this weapon. weapon. I can't stand it. At number 17 is the DC-15 blaster rifle, but no, this is not the one from Galactic Battle. This is actually the one that was introduced in Chapter 4, Season 2, and they are considerably different. This weapon shoots projectiles and has a slower fire rate than the regular DC-15 from Galactic Battle. It's just very tough for me to rank projectile weapons, obviously ones that aren't sniper rifles, when they were in seasons with weapons that were all hit scan. Just felt like this weapon didn't stand a chance. It was very difficult to hit your shots and not enough damage to be rewarded for that difficulty. At number 16 is the sideways rifle. Again, this is another weapon that I'm just kind of mid on. I don't think it's anything crazy. The fact that it gets, more accurate and more deadly the longer that you hold the trigger, sure, right? That works for something like the sideways minigun where you're expecting to shoot a ton of bullets and hold that trigger. But with the sideways rifle, with assault rifles in general, it's just like you feel like you don't hold the trigger for that long, right? You take a couple shots and you push somebody or you fall back behind cover. This weapon kind of falls to like the same fate as the lawless accelerant hollow twister does, right? Both these weapons require you to hold down the trigger for a long time. And I don't know about you guys, but that's just not how I play with assault rifles. Moving on to number 15 is the BARM ST-12 Scatter Blaster. This was the kind of tac shotgun remake from Galactic Battle, but no, it is so much worse than the tac shotgun. The shotgun disparity in this season was absolutely insane. Like, this weapon was just bottom feeder, and then you've got the Jawa and the ACP all the way up at the top. Like, seriously, two of the best shotguns I think we've ever seen. This weapon never stood a chance. It is so bad, and I'm going to go out and say, I think it's one of the worst shotguns we've ever gotten in Fortnite. Number 14 is the E11 Blaster, but this is the one from Galactic Battle, right? So it sees a significant upgrade from its previous version because it is hit scan. It's got a much higher DPS, but in Galactic Battle, I was taking the F11D over this weapon, but still, I was taking the E11 over the CR2. So to me, the E11 just kind of falls right in the middle. I don't think that's kind of a crazy take. I think a lot of people will agree this is a very mid weapon. And number 13 is the minigun. Yes, the regular minigun, but crucially, this will not include Brutus's minigun or RG's minigun. They change up the weapon enough in certain factors that they should be in different spots, and so yeah, here they are. Well, at least here's just the regular minigun, and yeah, it's okay. There's certain situations when it's really useful for creating pressure and just kind of creating just general chaos, but I think it kind of struggles to find a spot in my inventory. Like, I prefer an AR over this thing. I would just prefer a regular SMG over the minigun as like my close quarters weapon, right? So I don't feel like this weapon really has a spot in my inventory, but let me know your guys' thoughts on that in the comment section down below. And number 12 is the sideways minigun. Now, I actually think the sideways minigun is better than the minigun for a couple of reasons, right? While yes, the cooldown on the sideways minigun is more than that of the regular minigun. You're looking at a cooldown of 4.5 seconds for the sideways minigun. That's a long time. But this weapon, when it is fully charged up and accurate, right, with basically infinite first shot accuracy, is incredibly deadly. It's got one of the highest DPSs in Fortnite history. And I feel like with any weapon, right, a minigun is where you really feel that because you're always going to be holding down the trigger for, 5-6 seconds at a time with a minigun. So you do really feel the benefit of that increased accuracy and increased firing with a minigun, whereas you don't really feel that with the sideways rifle, in my opinion. So yeah, for those reasons, I think the sideways minigun is better than the regular minigun. Regular minigun. And number 11 is the Westar 34 blaster pistols. I will keep this very brief because I actually just ranked every single Fortnite pistol. That's my updated 2025 list, so be sure to go check that video out if you haven't. In case you didn't know, the DPS between the Westars and the regular dual pistols are only separated by 4 damage per second, which just goes to show actually how elite these weapons are, because I hold the regular dualies in a pretty high regard, but it's time to throw the Westars in those conversations too, right? But anyways, we are now inside the top 10, and my number 10 spot is the F11D Blaster from Galactic Battle. This is just like your all-around good weapon this season. Do I think it's the best assault rifle in Galactic Battle? No, nowhere near that. But it does everything just kind of decently. It reminds me of like the regular Fortnite assault rifle. It's good at close range. It kind of lacks a little bit at those longer ranges just due to the recoil. But at those mid-ranges, this thing absolutely excels. And at those close range, definitely, yeah, this could be an SMG alternative. And especially once you get that mythic version.
I'm lagging so hard right now.
And at my number 9 spot is the A280 CFE blaster rifle. Now, last time I
Only
ran this weapon, I
100?
caught some flack for, right? But I genuinely think this thing is just a worse version of the Hollow Twister. And honestly, I think whether you like this weapon or not kind of depends on the rest of your loadout. Like, if you really like the ACP Scatter Blaster, well, you're probably going to run the A280 because you don't necessarily need an SMG or a close-range weapon to follow those shots up. But if you really liked the Jawa Scatter Blaster, well, you definitely need a close-range weapon and SMG to follow that shot up. So then you're probably going to prefer the F11D or maybe like the DLT-19. In zero builds, I think there is an argument that this is the best assault rifle in Galactic Battle, but for me, I play builds, and I feel like this weapon isn't as good in that mode. And so that's why, you know, I don't have it as high as some other people do, because I know a lot of people really like this assault rifle. At number 8 is the DLT-19 blaster rifle from Galactic Battle, and look, I called some slack on the last video for putting the DLT-19 ahead of the A280, and I'm holding this firm
120?
with my guns
It's not
here.
bad
I think
damage.
the DLT-19 is better. Again, while you don't
Bro,
get that
get
crazy, like,
away
long
from
range
me.
usage out of the DL-19
Stop
like you do with the
following me,
A280,
bro.
I just feel like more times than not, if I saw the DLT-19 on the ground, right, I was going to take it because I love to play aggressive in this game, and for me, the DLT was that weapon that kind of fit my playstyle the best. Of course, this is just my list, right? I know you guys are going to have entirely different lists, but I still don't think it was the best assault rifle in Galactic Battle. Moving on to number 7 is the DL-44 blaster pistol. This weapon is absolutely incredible. Like, genuinely, I think that there is an argument to say the blaster pistol from this season is one of the best weapons we got. And honestly, like, yeah, I would see why you would take this weapon over something like the A280 or the F11D. Certainly, it's incredibly accurate. You can use that long, close, or mid-range. And genuinely, right, like, I think in the grand scheme of Fortnite history, this is going to go down as an underrated weapon. But I think it's just beaten out, honestly, at the number 6 spot by the DC-15 Heavy Blaster Rifle. And I know what you're going to say in the comment section, right? Well, Ty, you said you just love the W key. You love to jump through the boxes, but you're going to take the DC-15 over something like the DLT or the F11D. And yes, while you are right about that, I think the DC-15 just excels so much at what it sets out to do that I can afford to kind of lose that close range capability because the DC-15 is just so incredibly good at mid to long range. I think it definitely beats out the A280, right? Like, I know people love scoped assault rifles in Fortnite, and so do I, but this thing is just so powerful, so accurate. If you can maintain that recoil, you're going to shred people with this thing. Moving on to number 5, that's the IQA-11 marksman rifle, right? And in the grand scheme of Fortnite history, DMRs have sucked. There's no other way to put it. They're some of the worst classes of weapon in Fortnite history, but the IQ-80-11 is by far the best. It's not even close, and I don't want to see people hating on this weapon because it's genuinely unbelievable. Like, this thing will outgun snipers at those long ranges. Hitting for like 130 damage in a headshot with a DMR of this fire rate with a beautiful scope, it just feels unfair. Like, it really feels unfair. It's got no recoil, whereas something like, I don't know, the Huntress DMR, which does do big time damage, just feels like that recoil is crazy. And like, I genuinely
What the hell
don't
is
think it's a hot
going
take to
on
say
over
that the
here?
IQA was the best ranged weapon that we got in Galactic Battle. But we're now at my number 4 spot, and I'm going with the CA-87 Jawa Scatter Blaster. What a crazy Fortnite weapon, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but this has to have the highest body shot damage for any shotgun in Fortnite history, and it is the most high-risk, high-reward weapon I think I've ever seen in this game, right? If you are up close and personal and you hit somebody, you're looking at legitimately 140 to like 170 damage to the body. That is absolutely unreal, but for me personally, I prefer the pump shotgun over this thing just because I like consistency over risk. Especially when it comes to the shotgun category, I would rather take something that's going to, consistently hit than something with the Jawa where, I might go into a fight and I might hit for 170, or I might go into a fight and I might hit 430, and then you have to take over 2 seconds to pull down this thing between every shot. So in zero build, I don't really know how useful this thing is, but in build mode, at least you can shoot it and hide around the corner. And I'll explain a little bit more about this when I get to, well, the next spot at number 3. And that spot for me is going to be the ACP Scatter Blaster. And again, like I said, I think you could switch these weapons, right? It's just personal preference. It depends how you like to run the rest of your loadout. But right, like, listen to this, right? Would you rather have the pump shotgun or the ranger shotgun or the driving press shotgun? I'm going to say most of you guys, 95% of you are probably going to say the pump shotgun. And so now, right, you see why I like the ACP over the Jawa. The same concept that has the pump versus the ranger. I like the consistency of the pump instead of the high risk, high reward of the ranger shotgun. It's the same thing with the Jawa. But I can't deny the Jawa will hit like a blunderbuss at those close ranges, but the ACP is is one of the best flying shotguns we've ever had. This thing hits like an absolute truck. I mean, 121 damage in the legendary version, guys, that's better than the Spaz shotgun. The Spaz will only be ranked higher in future lists because it can one-shot headshot. That's really it. At number 2, though, guys, it's the Mythic minigun. It's Brutus's minigun. This thing is an absolute tank, right? Like, in terms of just creating pressure, just walking into anyone's build, mowing them down. Screw a shotgun, you don't need it. Screw an AR, you don't need it. Screw an SMG, you don't need it. Because Brutus's minigun fills all those gaps. It is considerably more accurate than the minigun and has a faster cooldown, which is why it is much higher than the regular minigun. It is arguably the best Mythic from Chapter 2, Season 2, but funnily enough, it's actually not the best Mythic minigun on this list. That's because at my number 1 spot today, guys, the best overheat item in Fortnite history, it's actually RG's minigun, and here's why it is better than Brutus's minigun. These two weapons have identical stats in almost every single category, right? They've got the same DPS at 252, which, by the way, is just absolutely insane. The same damage at 21, that means the fire rate's going to be the same at 12. The headshot multiplier is the same at 1.5 times, but where they differ is actually the overheat time, right? The time that it takes to refire the weapon after you burn it out. Brutus's minigun's reload time, quote unquote, is 4.5 seconds, whereas RG's minigun is 2.7 seconds. That's almost 2 whole seconds quicker that you can get to firing RG's minigun versus the Brutus's minigun, and that's the only stat where they differ, and that's a really, really important stat. For that reason, RG's minigun has got to be higher than Brutus's minigun. There's no way that you could put Brutus's higher than RG's. Alright guys, I hope you went on to enjoy that video. I know it was a little bit of a longer one, and if you are not a fan of Galactic Battle, I can see why you will not be a fan of this video. But anyways, if you did go on to enjoy it, please be sure to leave a like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're pushing for 100,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace.
Like, can't you see, bro? Like, everybody's teaming on me. Everybody's shooting at me. Not a single person is shooting at anybody else but me.
Locations in Fortnite history, and I'm about to rank every single one from worst to best. Obviously, this video is meant to be my 50,000 subscriber special, so thank you to everyone who has tuned into my videos and has subscribed along the way. I really appreciate it. You guys make a big difference, and if you guys think this video is crazy, wait until you see what I have planned for 100K. So make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not already, and let's get there. Also, an absolutely massive thank you to anybody who submitted thumbnail ideas for this video. I saw every single email, and the support was amazing. It really kind of warmed my heart, so thank you so much for that. But shout out to Shifty Styles, as I decided to go with this thumbnail for this video, and so shout out for all the hard work to everybody who put in, but specifically Shifty, so thank you. But let's get into some parameters for this video, right? I'm going to be ranking over 150 named locations, so I gotta be pretty
Like, bro!
ranking them by. So in no specific order,
Like, I should really report them, but I'm not going to. I'm not one of those people.
If it has a boss,
Damn.
and if that boss
That
drops
really
a
sucks.
mythic weapon that is good, that will make a
So you have to stoop
difference.
that low
As
just
well
to
as
team.
physical location.
They literally
So
ran by each other right
locations
before
that
I
are on
started
the
shooting the
outskirts
one guy
are
that
most
shot
of
at
the
me
time
first.
less desirable to land at than locations that are
And then the
central
other
to
guy
the
is
region.
on top and doesn't do anything. He's just sitting there watching. And was probably sniping at me.
Is a big deal. And finally, just how easy is it
Oh
to
my
loot? Obviously,
lord.
locations with a lot of
That is just
verticality,
so
like fire
sick.
or something, are a lot harder to loot than something like, I don't know, Retail Row, where it's just the same house over and over again. This list will not include any locations from Fortnite Reload. I know I had a couple questions about that. And the same POI from different chapters will count as one unless they are fundamentally different. So something like Pleasant Park.
Guess who's my new best friend? Me. Olay, Super Serum Body Wash, luminous skin in 14 days. Okay.
Brittany wanted to pivot her career, so she signed up for a Google Career Certificate and got to work learning valuable skills, which helped her get a new job.
I'm fully remote and my salary has...
of kids in high school. First up, the popular rich kids. Okay, so I'm gonna be completely honest. Nobody really likes these type of kids. The reason why is because they think they're better than everybody else. Like, first off, there's no popular kids in high school, especially not in the way that TV shows and movies portray it. It's just some people are more known than other people, and that's really it. But oftentimes, these type of kids that think they're popular are really not. And the only reason why they think they're popular is because they have nice cars, they're rich, and their parents have money. That's really it. In all reality, if you're not doing anything for us, why would we like you, bro? This is not High School Musical, bro. You're just a regular kid like us. And usually these kids are annoying too. All they do is try to flex on you, but at the same time, you're not flexing your money, you're flexing your parents' money. So like, trying to flex your spawn location is crazy, bro. That's not your bread. But oftentimes, these type of kids hang around the basic white girls, which is the second group I'm going to talk about. See, being a basic white girl is a lifestyle. Stanley Cup, Lululemon, actually, they don't wear Lululemon. They wear Aloe because the black ratchet girls took over Lululemon. They spend most of their money at Starbucks, Dunkin', Ulta, or Target. And for some reason, they love wearing miniskirts that basically look like underwear. I don't understand it. Most of the time, these type of girls are blonde too. They always end up with a guy named Tucker, or Jason, or Carlson, or it's just something like that, just a country white guy. And if you're not in the South, you don't have country white guys at your school, it's just gonna be a tanner or just a random. Sometimes these basic white girls like black dudes, but they only like the athletes, and they're only looking for one piece of that bag. But yeah, usually people don't really like the basic white girls because they have no personality. I mean, if you've ever tried to have a conversation with one of these type of girls, it's one of the most miserable and depressing things ever. Like, it's like talking to an actual wall. Another type of kid is a stoner. Usually this is one of the chilling type of guys who really, all he does is just smoke. Probably vapes and does cars in the bathroom. The only thing about this kid is his grades are always shit because he's always fried all the time. And everybody knows he's a kid too, even the teachers, even the school principals. Nobody's been to do anything about it because he just be chilling. Sometimes stoners can even be happy, which is the next kid we're talking about. See, most of the time, athletes don't really have clout in school unless you're a basketball or a football player. And even then, if your team isn't good, they don't really have that much motion in school. Most of the time, you're just playing that sport, getting sore, getting worse grades just for the love of the game. Or maybe you're trying to go pro. And it doesn't really give you that much support out. Nobody really cares. Unless you're like a 5-star or some really good team. But if you are a 5-star or you're going D1, then you're probably very familiar with the school bops. Because see, the school bops love the athletes because they think they're getting clout because they're messing with an athlete this week. You see, most of the time, you're even 50-50 with the school bops. Sometimes you love them, other times you hate them. Because most of the time, if you love them, then you love their services that they provide them. Maybe they're just a cool person. Most of the time, bops are really cool. But if you hate them, then most likely they either did you dirty or they slept with your man if you're a girl. So yeah, the life of a school bop is crazy. But one type of person that everybody loves in school is a fast clown. And the reason why is because he's basically risking his whole future just to make you laugh. I mean, everybody loves a class clown. Whenever it's a boring day at school, nobody wants to be there. He'll usually say some type of funny, weird joke that makes everybody laugh, but usually will end him up in detention. And we love him for that. He's literally sacrificing his whole academic career for our laughter. Is it a worthy sacrifice? For him, absolutely not. But for us, that's what we love. The sad part about these type of kids, though, is that usually their lives are miserable. And the only joy they have in life is making other people laugh. Most of us don't care about that shit, though. We just want to laugh. I ain't gonna lie. But oftentimes, since these type of kids always end up getting in trouble because the teacher doesn't really like their jokes, because most of them are about the teacher. A lot of times, these kids have to end up reclassing, which unfortunately sometimes leads them to becoming super seniors. And see, super seniors are the bottom of the barrel. These are the type of kids that don't see anything wrong with what EP and Dr. Disrespect did. The type of kids that look at R. Kelly and Diddy like, well, you might not understand the vision, but he does. Yeah, that vision is jail time, buddy. But these type of people don't care. See, these are the type of kids who absolutely love going to local middle schools to just scout the 8th grade talent. As soon as they become a freshman, forget it. Because to them, it doesn't matter if you're 18 in high school. You have free game over everybody.
All right. I'm definitely gonna be taking that. I've kind of built a good loadout now.
Because they're just good, nice guys. And they love sending snaps out on Snapchat, especially to girls when they're 14. You know, honestly, I wouldn't trust these type of guys around your daughter, around your sister, around a baby. Because most likely after they graduate high school, they'll end up on the list. And I'm not talking about Sam's. A lot of times, these super seniors actually get even worse after they graduate high school. They'll be 20 years old attending high school football games. Or they'll still be attending high school parties at the ripe age of 21. But the type of person that these type of kids usually hate is the rat. And honestly, they're not the only ones either. Everybody hates these type of girls. See, I've talked about the ratchet girls plenty of times on this channel, and every single time I talk about them, I'll be saying the same thing. Loud, ratchet, hot Cheetos, fake ass nails, fake ass lashes, most likely a bop, most likely got drama, for sure wearing a weave, for sure got extensions in, and probably wearing face for a and nobody likes these type of girls except us. But since the last time I talked about these girls, they have equal. Now instead of wearing jeans, these type of girls wear Lululemon. Instead of listening to city girls, they listen to Sexy Red and Gorilla. And most importantly, now whenever they get a chance, they always want to have an excuse to throw their ass. Doesn't matter where, when, or whenever. It could be in school. They're going to throw their ass. Usually everybody hates these type of girls, except, again, for the YN, whatever you want to call it. See, these type of people have also been called since the last time I talked about it. They don't just crap and scam them. They also sell in school. They're always promoting their musical sound where they're just talking about doing drugs and killing people and all of that. And for some reason they want to wear shiesties and glasses. But if you're in school, you don't have options. And there's actually narcotics that these people use. Have also now instead of just smoking gas, they're using liquids. Or at least for a little bit they were using them. I don't think they do it anymore. They use it for gas. So in between the classes or during the class, they always go to the bathroom, talking to cards, and selling stuff after school, before school, whenever they can. Really some thugs and cool. Just like last time, one type of kid that really hates this part of the Republican kids. These type of kids that wear boots to school, always have a belt buckle on, and they also swear Morgan Wallen is dead, but they love that crime. And all of the other countries.
No, I lost my gold scar. Oh man.
It's the YN. These are also the type of guys who love the basic white girls. When the basic white girls
I don't even feel like going to run back and get it. It's just, I'm not in the mood. I'd rather go kill other people. Alright, buddy. This is Bot Central. What are we doing over here, buds? Get this out of here.
All the girls hate me because all the guys love me so much. Usually these type of girls love that hey, which makes the pictures. They always want to say the N-word, they want to dress like us. I get that you like our culture, but like don't use our word. You're not black.
Bro, what?
Quiet kids chill. Nobody really talks to them. I'm just there. Another variant of this quiet kid though is the school. This is somebody you stay away from. At the same time, you want to be cool with them because when that day comes, you want to make sure you're not there. Every school has that guy who tries to do TikTok, tries to be a TikTok influencer, and you're either loved or you're hate. AKA, if you blow up, you love. And if you don't, you're just hated. Another variant of this is the YouTuber or Twitch streamer that every school has. See, I'm not gonna lie, ironically, I became this. And I also was the streamer type of guy. And if you want to see my Twitch right here, about 900 shit plug. And then last but not least, you have the NPCs. Most likely you, NPCs are chill. They don't do anything. Just that background games. That's the video. Appreciate you for watching. You know I love y'all. Follow our socials. Tap into the Discord if you want to be part of my community, Scott Group. And if you want to see me bring back school series, let me know. I appreciate y'all for watching. Tell me who out there. I might make part 2. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. God bless. Thank you, everybody.
Nick, are you ready to learn back in? What did you call me?
What?
And here I'm back with everyone's favorite guilty pleasure, Instagram Reels. We know it's bad for us. We know nothing good ever comes from watching Instagram Reels, but we still do it. It's kind of like drugs.
My gold scars finally came back to me. A victory crown? You're just spoiling me now, too. My gold scar is rifle?
Notice how I didn't say a single positive thing? Oh, God. When you laugh, part of me. Okay. Oh, wow. You're not supposed to laugh, but look at her. She wants you to laugh. You can just
bro, why is everybody coming to me, bro? What did I do?
Approve of this Caucasian. Are y'all sure he's still alive? He's hard. I'm not gonna zoom in, but he's hard.
What? I'm not gonna zoom in, but he's hard is crazy.
But dang, you're doing pimp so dirty, bro. Like, I would understand.
I'm going upstairs.
Squirrel, because Squirrel's kind of a prick.
What is this treason? Oh. Bruh, everybody's coming in here, bro. What? Oh, everybody's downstairs.
Wow, because I think what got me is like I really didn't know Canadians existed. I thought they were just something you saw.
I'm ratting. Or actually, let me stop ratting, bro. I know how bad that shit is, and I hate it, so I'm not gonna become one of them. And I'm not gonna be part of this shameless act.
Ain't no way you about to try this. Anything for views. Anything. A one slip and he's out of there. See, I jump off like a roof onto the pool if like the roof and the pool perfectly aligned. You know what I mean? Like if it was straight, if it was roof.
Mommy leveling? What does that mean? What? Sister leveling 4 series. Create commentary. Alright. The best music comments. Pop. Player 456 jump and pump. What does that mean? Jump and pump. Oh.